From God down to the lowest angel, there is order. From men and women down to the meanest worm, there is order.
The year is 1600. Queen Elizabeth of England rules a society where everyone, it seemed, knew their place. It was a message repeated week after week in churches throughout the land.
'Tis true. 'Tis very true. I have observed it. I have made a tour of this blessed realm. The results recently published under the fitting title, A Description of England by the Reverend William Harrison, 4 shillings in the finest of calf bindings. And yes, 'tis very true. For beneath her gracious majesty, and I have scarcely presumed to peep in at her gates, society lies in excellent and most perfect order. This is very good, but take away that order and why, what confusion will follow. No man will ride the highway unrobbed or sleep in his own house unkilled. And so let us not question God's divine plan. That there be beggars in this golden isle. The beggars be there to tip their hats to their superiors. The poorers have no land and tradesmen. And the tradesmen be there to tip their hats to their superiors, the yeoman farmers, and the yeoman farmers to tip their hats to the country gentry, and the country gentry to tip their hats to the great lords and nobles as sit second only to the Queen herself. This is society mapped out, and all within it must find their place.
Typical. The church's view. But was Elizabethan society really so mapped out? One thing's for sure, everyone tipped their hats to the Queen. Queen Elizabeth I was ruler of England for 44 years. She spoke 8 languages. She was beautiful and never aged. She was chosen by God. She was, in fact, a goddess. Or so her flatterers made out.
What peace in her country, what plenty in her land, what trades in her cities, what wealth in her kingdom. Oh, let me speak of her majesty with admiration, whom God had blessed with so much perfection.
The wisest woman that ever there was, for she understood what all other rulers were up to and knew England so well that no advisor could tell her anything about her kingdom that she did not already know.
Elizabeth was famed for mingling with her people. She made royal tours throughout the country each summer. But in truth, she rarely traveled more than 100 miles from London, and the doors that opened to her were only those of the few, her richest subjects. It was in houses like this one that the whole court arrived to be entertained.
First were gentlemen, barons, earls, knights of the Garter, all richly dressed. Next came the Lord High Chancellor between 2 men, one of whom carried the royal scepter, the other the sword of state. And next came the Queen, followed by the ladies of court, all very handsome, and for the most part dressed in white.
I've been at court. A great throng of people, all beautifully dressed in velvet, damask, cloth of gold, all clutching petitions or swapping gossip or vainly strutting to catch the Queen's eye. It's said she's partial to a well-turned leg. When I was there, a new gallant had set the court aflame, Sir Christopher Hatton, a dandy dancer. Though now, of course, I must call him my Lord Chancellor. I remember the days when nobility was in the blood, but now one may buy it as if it were a yard of cloth, and very profitable it is too, for every office comes with very high returns. It's a market stall, and nobility just a game.
The court flocked to the Queen because the Queen was the source of all power. But she was promoting men of humble as well as noble birth. Any pushy young man, it seemed, could become her favorite and make his fortune.
With such wealth abroad, it often appears that men are become monsters. Women, on the other hand, are become men. They will not know their place. There are some rich women that would deal in power as men do. There is one with such pretensions as I choke to speak of her. Her name is Bess of Hardwick.
I would say I've done rather well. I wish my father were alive to see it. He had a few hundred acres in Derbyshire, a trifle. Whereas I have wealth that, well, it makes me blush. My fourth husband, the Count of Shrewsbury, was disgustingly rich and was kind enough to die some 10 years back, leaving a fortune in my hands. He was a past master at sitting on money, but oh, he had absolutely no idea of how to spend it.
Elizabeth, Countess of Shrewsbury, was determined to let everyone know she was the richest woman in England. Her initials were carved for all to see, and no expense was spared in making Hardwicke Hall one of the finest houses in the country. What evidence remains of her wealth and status?
We can afford these days to be playful with our buildings. Let them speak our character. For these are days of peace, and we have no more need for dull, defensive, draughty castles. This is the Great Hall, an entrance hall really, where my lesser servants mingle rudely. So much noise and confusion, one doesn't let them venture upstairs. And on high days and holidays, this hall is used for feasting. My table is renowned as the finest in the county.
While the servants and lowly visitors ate downstairs, the family and important guests always ate upstairs. The higher in the house you progressed, the grander your status. And the ultimate honor was to be entertained by Bess herself in the great high chamber.
I have built this room as a tribute to Her Majesty the Queen. It is the most beautiful room in Europe. All that remains is that she should come and visit, admire the tapestries, the plaster frieze, her coat of arms above the mantel. But she never comes. Well, it's not as if the expense has been wasted. As my guests make to sit down, I joke, these upholstered stools are fit for a queen.
To impress the Queen was vital if nobles were to achieve the influence which made all things possible. But it was a costly affair, as the Queen's accounts show.
From the Earl of Shrewsbury, a tiara worth £20. From the Earl of Ormond, part of a petticoat of pink satin. From the Countess of Lincoln, a long gold chain. From Sir Thomas Cecil, a French gown of black silk net. From the Bishop of London, in gold, £20.
Countess would continue to entertain her guests in the long gallery. They could admire her family portraits, her paintings of kings and queens, and her tapestries. On a rainy day, there was plenty of room for a stroll or a game of skittles.
After supper, we come here to dance and sing in parts. To hold a tune is, of course, a sign of breeding, and if a guest will not join in, there is much muttering. When tiredness strikes, we move to my great withdrawing chamber, where we play chess or maybe cards and plot marriages twixt the young, and so to bed. Why have I built all this? Because I would have my name preserved forever. My family will marry kings and queens, and society will flock to Hardwicke, and the hall will boom with the sound of dancing. It is very quiet. Where is everyone? Elsewhere. These upstarts, chasing the Queen, running this vulgar country. And old Bess of Hardwicke, all forgot.
Houses like Hardwicke Hall show the confidence of the new nobility, who were prepared to spend any amount of money to show off their newfound wealth. But was Bess the only one doing well?
Those that would truly wish to see the wealth of this nation should look not at the follies of the greater nobles, but at the homes of the country gentry. For here we see such advances. Buildings of stone and brick, not just the timber frames of old. Some things, of course, never change. The gentry's houses do tend to reek of fox skin and damp terrier, but we shall forgive them that. Oh, these country squires, these Sir Hughs and Sir Cuthberts, they are the kings of the counties. The roads being so bad, the court seems a very distant place, so their justice and fatherly guidance must steer the village a straight course. It's they that must punish wrongdoers. If a bridge is unsafe, they must raise the money to repair it. It's they that hire the constables to keep the peace and repel strangers. They are the guardians of the spirit of England, and God bless 'em one and all. In the houses of gentlemen, it's not uncommon to behold a great amount of tapestry, fine linens, costly cupboards full of silver worth £500 or £600. These far exceed the stuff of their elders, and do show the wealth of our country.
What distinguished you as a member of the gentry family was the way you behaved.
Be not greedy of meat and drink, but be generous and kind. Do not nibble bones with thy teeth, for that is unseemly. Do not tear meat apart, for that is bad manners. And if a stranger sit near thee, every now and then reward him with dainties. Show thyself a gentleman.
The gentry made their money through the ownership of land. They did not work on it themselves, since a gentleman should never dirty his hands and always be aware of his rank.
No gentleman should wear silver, satin, or red velvet, for that is what noblemen wear. Nor should a gentleman wear blue. Always buy cloth costing more than 10p a yard, and if you find a labourer wearing such cloth, you may place him in the stocks for 3 days.
A knight of Calais, a gentleman of Hayley, a laird of the North Country, a yeoman of Kent, sitting on his penny rent, could buy them out all three.
The yeomen, the next rank down, those that tipped their hats to the gentry. Could they do well in Elizabethan England?
Yeomen may not be called sir or master as the gentry are, no certain. They answer to Thomas or John, 'tis simple. And yet with shrewd farming and good business at the market, they've come into great wealth. They buy up the land left idle by rash and careless gentlemen and send their sons to the schools, universities, the inns of court. And when they die, they leave enough land for their sons to live without having to work. And so truly, the barriers between gentlemen and yeomen become blurred with the passing years. But I would begrudge them nothing. The yeomen are very fine stock, the backbone of the nation.
Yeomen were independent farmers who plowed their money back into the land. With the population rising and so many mouths to feed, they were doing very nicely.
The greater yeomen are rich enough to lend money to the Queen. The lesser yeomen are able to keep 10 or 12 milk cows, 5 or 6 horses to farm their land, besides young cattle and sheep, and are worth each of them between £300 and £500.
Yeomen made their houses more comfortable. Glass windows to let in the light, fireplaces and chimneys to keep out the smoke. Their wills show evidence of their new-found wealth.
I give and bequeath unto my son, William Ford, 1 bed with all the things belonging thereunto, my coffer or chest standing in the parlour with all manner of things in the same, my best plough and irons, 3 yokes and 1 iron chain.
Things in the parlour: a basin and a jug, 9 plates, 14 pewter dishes, 6 saucers, 6 soup basins, 5 brass candlesticks, 3 pewter salt cellars, 1 pewter cup, 2 pewter chamber pots.
There's plenty of evidence for the nobles, the gentry, and the yeomen of Elizabethan England doing well. But what about the poor, who had no land? Did they spend all their lives working, quietly obeying their masters?
The poor are the nation's prop. They are as a floorboard or a footrest. One doesn't notice them, but without them our comfort would be much lessened. They cannot afford wheat bread. They must sell their grain at Michaelmastide to pay their rents, and when they buy it back again for food, the prices are through the ceiling. So they must eat bread of rye and barley, even bread of peas and beans if times are bad. And when famine knocks on the door, they will take the oats that should grace the horse's nose bag and eat that instead. Oh, they live a very hard and pinched existence.
The homes of the poor were so badly built that almost none have survived. They were mud-floored hovels, often shared with their animals.
Walls of earth, low thatched roofs, few partitions, no glass windows, and scarcely any chimneys other than a hole in the wall to let out the smoke. Their bed, straw and a blanket. To conclude, a drinking cup and a pan or two comprises all their belongings.
Everyone in the family had to work all the hours of the day just to make ends meet.
It is a wife's occupation to winnow the corn, make malt, make hay, and in time of need to help her husband to fill the muck wagon, drive the plough, load hay, and to go to market to sell butter, cheese, eggs, pigs, hens, and corn, and also to buy all things necessary for the household.
They say because I've no schooling that I am a know-nothing, but I know what I needs to know. I know how to mend a wound with cobweb, and if there be a woman in labour, I know many a trick to ease that pain. And if there be fleas in the chamber and my Thomas is scratching, I'll boil wormwood with lupin and sprinkle it round, and that be the end of them. And I know how to smile when times are rough. I know to stick close with my neighbours, how to trust in their help and give mine in return. And though the price rise, and there be no cause to sing, I've no reason for heavy sighing neither.
So who did have reason for heavy sighing? She and those like her were not the worst off. In the last few years of Elizabeth's reign, inflation, famine, and unemployment had swelled the ranks of the poor and destitute.
The streets swarm with beggars. No man can stand in any street, but at once 10 or 12 beggars come breathing in his face. It's not the poor of London that pester the city, but the poor of England. London draws to itself all soldiers who have no wars to employ them, all serving men whose masters are dead or who've been sacked for some offence or other.
There are some that are poor through no fault of their own. The orphan, the aged, the blind, the lame. And it's very proper that the parish should help such people. For if they don't, they'll merely scatter abroad, here and there, and become a nuisance to both town and country. There are quite enough beggars as it is. 10,000 odd, I've heard, and they're rogues and tricksters, poor because they've squandered all and now would live a life of idleness. Oh, I could tell you tales of these false and very lewd fellows, how they use ratsbane and crowsfoot to bring up pitiful blisters, oozing pus, to move the hearts of passers-by. They're all thieves, sir, and the whip of justice awaits them.
From God down to the lowest angel, there is order. From men and women down to the meanest worm, there is order.
Elizabethan society mapped out.